Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve quadratic equations by taking the square root. So I have listed the steps here. There are 4 steps. So let's go over each single steps. So the step 1, we want to isolate the term with the x squared or the expression being squared. Okay. So first step, isolate the square. The term is the square. Okay. Then step 2, you want to take the square root on both sides. Why? Okay, the goal is to get x alone. Okay, and you see that x is being squared. And to undo the square, the operation that undo the square is the square root. They undo each other. Okay, they are called also, they are inverse function. So step 3, okay, if applicable, rationalize the denominator. And then step 4, solve for the variable x. Okay, so let's go over each steps. So the first problem I'm going to give you is, okay, so the first quadratic equation to solve is x squared equal 25. Okay, so x squared equal 25 is the first quadratic equation. How would you solve it? So step 1 asks us to isolate the term with the square. So again, the term with the square is already by itself. Okay, so we don't need to isolate anything. It has already been done for us. So step 1 has been done for us. So now step 2, what are you going to do? You're going to take the square root on both sides. Again, you want to find the x values. Okay, when you square, you get 25. Or we want to get x alone, and the way to get x alone is to take the square root on both sides. So let's do it. Let's do this. So this is step 2. So let's take the square root on both sides. So now, alert, alert, alert. I need your attention. So when you take the square root on both sides, on the right side, you need to include the minus and the plus symbol. The minus and the plus. Okay? Why? Because they're actually two numbers. There's actually two numbers when you square when you square or multiply by each other, they give us 25. So if I want, the first number will be negative 5 squared, or negative 5 times negative 5 equal to positive 25, as well as 5 times 5 is also equal to positive 25. So there are two numbers like that will give us the radican of, when you multiply it by itself, but you give it the radican of positive 25. So that's why when you have the even roots, you always need to include the plus and the minus, okay? Because the negative number, a positive number, will also work. So you end up with x squared. Again, the square root, undo the square. So we are left with just x squared equal to, include the minus and the plus. Okay, what is the square root of 25? One number do we square and you get 25? It's 5. So again, the answer is not just one number, it's two numbers. And let me write it out for you like this. I'm going to start with the lowest x value, which is negative 5, and then comma positive 5. Okay, and that's those two represent the solutions. They are the only numbers that we make this equation true. Okay. Okay, the next equation is x squared equal 1. Okay, so again, we want to solve for x. So x squared is already been by itself, is already been isolated. So the next step here is to take the square root, okay, on both sides. And when you take the square root on the right side, include the minus and the plus, okay? Because there are two numbers when you square that equal to positive 1. Okay, it's always true for even roots. So you're going to be here x equal to negative and positive 1. Again, there are two numbers that you need to consider. The first one is negative 1, comma positive 1. Okay, so the next quadratic equation is x squared plus 2 equals 51. Okay, so the step 1 means isolate the term with the square. So we have to isolate, for this case number 3, example number 3, we need to isolate the term with the square. So what would you do here? Okay, so let me write it below again. So you have x squared plus 2 equals 51. So we want x squared to be alone on the left side. And so it means you have to undo positive 2. So to undo positive 2, what we do, you take away 2, okay? And whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right side, y, in order to balance the equation. So you're left with x squared equal to 49. Again, step 2, you're going to take the square root. Now we isolate the term with the square. Now step 2, you're going to take the square root on both sides. So when you take the square root on both sides, always include the minus and the plus. Okay, and you end up with x equal minus and plus 7. So again, you have two solutions. The first one is -7, the second one is +7. And those two. So this is the final answer. Okay. So let me give you another one for you to practice. So the first equation, the fourth one is x squared minus 4 equal 12. Okay, so remember, so the first step is to isolate the term with the square. So the term with the square is right here. It's x squared. Okay, so we want it to be alone. So what do we do? Okay, so you're going to add 4 on both sides. And you end up with x squared equal to 16. So now the next steps after this is step 2. You want to undo the square by taking the square root on both sides. So when you take the square root on both sides, make sure you include the plus and the minus on the right side of the equal sign. So you have x equal to minus and plus, and 16 is a perfect square. So one number do I square and I get 16 is 4. So again, you have two solutions, -4, +4. Okay. So again, how do we solve quadratic equation by taking the square root? First, you want to isolate the term with the square. And here, to isolate the term with the square, you need to add 4. Previously, you have to subtract 2 on both sides. Then you take the square root on both sides to undo the square, and you're left with x equal negative or +4. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Have a nice day.